clarity, and mental mastery is about to begin. Live from WSIC Studios on the shores of Lake Norman, the show that gives you the tools to think sharper, sleep deeper, manage stress, and unlock your full mental potential. This is Your Brain Matters. And now, with over 30 years of brain science, more than 70,000 brain analyses, bringing neuroscience to everyday life, here's your host, Dr. Tim Royer.
Welcome. We've officially decided it is the year of the brain 2026. Welcome to Your Brain Matters, the most important thing that you possess, your brain. And we are so excited about our series, right, Aim?
Yes. We are in the middle of a series. We're talking about depression.
Yes.
And that might sound a little
Does sound kinda
counterintuitive, but we're excited to talk about depression because last week we talked about how much it's misunderstood,
Right?
And that it's extremely prevalent, but misunderstood. So we really unpacked, like, what should we actually be looking for with this diagnosis of depression? And then today we're going to move into how we actually measure that. Now, many people are going to think to themselves, I didn't ever know you could measure it. And I think that's really common. And I think that's why we're excited, because we do have something to say about this that a lot of people don't know. And so that makes it exciting for us, because the more you know, then the more power you have in the situation. So to say we're excited about depression might sound weird, but that is why. And we are also always hammering away on the fact that your brain matters. And so anything we can do to help people understand depression and value their brain in that picture is all in our big goal.
Yeah. I think it's the excitement about the hope.
Yes.
The hope. It wasn't like we just started this yesterday. Amy and I have been doing this for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And we have seen the people go through the struggle that many of you are currently experiencing, or you know somebody does, because there's over 280 million people that have depression. And so you know somebody, 1 out of 3, that you probably have some form of depression. And so the hope is there. Before we get into it, we have a couple announcements.
Right.
This one's really good.
Yep.
Okay.
So coming up this week, like in 1 week, we have a lecture in the Naples area. Can you just unpack what does that lecture entail?
Yes. So March 12th at 6:30, which is a Thursday, at the Courtyard by Marriott on Tamiami Trail in Naples, we're doing a free lecture. This is our third one in Naples. We've had such a outpouring of people coming in and wanting to get an education about their brain. We're so excited to do this. We're going to be talking about the brain and how the brain matters. It's a free lecture. We're going to be looking at a real brain in real time, the EEG of the brain and how it works. And we're just inviting anybody in the area that would like to come. The way that you would respond is if you can go to 616-341-2299 and just RSVP through there. But we're really excited about this. I mean, what are your thoughts about the lectures? You've seen them for years and years now.
Years and years and years. I've seen Doc speak to thousands of people, sometimes 5 to 8 at a time, sometimes 1,000 at a time.
Yeah.
But he always brings the same passion. He's a very good speaker. It's very interactive. I think there's a lot of reasons you could say, I can't make it, or I don't have time, or whatever. But I've never had anybody come who regretted coming.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. Everybody I've ever spoken to after a lecture was like, man, I'm so glad I came. I really learned a lot. I really enjoyed myself. It's lighthearted, educational, and it really is the center of your decision making, is trying to find out more about your brain so that you know how to take care of it.
Yep. So March 12th, 6:30, Courtyard by Marriott on Tamiami. We'll see you there. Amy and I just got back from a 7-day trip where we went down into southeast Georgia along the intercoastal, took our boat, and we took Cooper the dog with us. Had a great time exploring Jekyll Island, St. Mary's, Cumberland Island, Amelia Island, out on the boat. It was just awesome. I thought it was awesome.
It was incredible. Yes, we many people probably don't know we used to live there, so
Okay.
it was a little bit of a trip down memory lane, and it brings up a lot of thoughts and emotions and things when you go and do something like that. So I highly suggest it to people out there to go back and revisit places that were impactful to you, because that's basically what we were doing. That's why we put it on the calendar, was like, hey, somewhere around 7 years ago, we found this area of the United States and thought it was amazing. And then we lived there for a couple years, and it was just so delightful to go back to it and relive some of that stuff. And if you haven't been to that area, you should go.
Oh, it's just so untouched and beautiful, and we're going to talk more about this in part 3. But we were on our boat, and the reason I brought that up at the beginning here is there's so many things you have to do with measuring when you're on a boat, especially when you're down on the intercoastal, because you
Yes.
have tides that are going up and down. It's just crazy, and then you've got wind direction and all these different things. And it's very similar to our lives when we have to measure things to understand when we're kind of getting off course, which can happen in depression and other things. And so there is some similarities to a lot of this that we were doing. Yes, we were out having fun, but there was this like world of math and getting everything lined up perfectly with the boat and all that kind of stuff, which we kind of need in our life, right?
Yes, and Doc is bringing that up, and it's actually making me kind of laugh a little bit, because when we moved down there, we just wanted to get on the water. And so we like bought this tiny little John boat and just dropped it in and just thought, like, we're just going to ride the boat on the water. Like, it's easy. And we found out through trial and error and making some pretty dumb, huge mistakes that you have to know some of these important measurements, or you will get yourself in a bad place. So thankfully we were never harmed, but we did put ourselves in some pretty bad spots. And even this weekend, with us knowing more and being more measured and things, we got ourselves into a bit of a mess ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So
we're going to talk about that later in part 3.
Oh, he's okay.
You can't talk about that.
Okay, quick. We got to switch gears. I was going in the wrong way.
Here's our quote. This is from Dr. Daniel Amen, who's probably the leader on analyzing the brain. He says, in most family physician, pediatricians, psychiatrists, psychologists' offices, patients report symptoms and doctors give them a diagnosis based on those symptoms. None of these diagnostic labels tells us the underlying biology of these problems. And so people end up with one-size-fits-all treatment, which is the cause of many treatment failures. Psychiatry is the only medical specialty that never looks at the organ it treats. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Let that sink in.
Take a breath. Let your brain reset. We'll be right back with Dr. Tim Royer on Your Brain Matters. WSIC Local starts here.
Well, I'll tell you what, this warmer weather going to have you wishing for some lake days soon. And maybe a day to put the boat in the water by the weekend. Plenty of sunshine and upper 70s for our Thursday afternoon. Overnight temperatures really don't even get all that cold. Will only fall off into the upper 50s, near 60, 80 Friday, low 80s heading into the weekend, and we're mainly dry through Saturday. Our next real rain chance returns by Sunday evening. That's your forecast from the Surf, Pickleball, and Kitchen on WSIC. Meteorologist Chase Myers.
Jay White here from Central Liner Realty. At Central Liner Realty, we believe it's all about you. If it's time to sell your home, don't go it alone. Put the team here at Central Liner Realty to work for you. Go to centrallinerrealty.com and let's get started.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Start your engines in Huntersville at the Huntersville Spring Car and Truck Show, happening Saturday, March 14th from 9 a.m. to noon at Veterans Park. Car, truck, and motorcycle owners are invited to show off their rides, connect with fellow enthusiasts, and compete for awards. Or just come enjoy the vehicles, food, and car lover atmosphere. Registration is free, but space is limited. For details and sign-up information, visit huntersville.org/events.
Then keep the fun going that same day. Luck of the Village, the St. Patrick's Day celebration, takes place March 14th from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Birkdale Village in Huntersville. Enjoy live bagpipes from the Loch Norman Pipe Band, Irish dance performances, and high-energy music from the Hitmen Party Band. Plus, plenty of family-friendly fun and festive vibes. It's free to attend and perfect for all ages. Learn more at birkdalevillage.com.
And if you're already thinking about your next night out, make Thursdays easy with live music Thursdays at the Serve Pickleball Plus Kitchen in Cornelius. This week features Carolina native John Sullivan performing Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. in the lounge, while guests play pickleball, sip drinks, and enjoy dinner. It's the perfect way to kickstart your Lake Norman weekend, and live music continues every Thursday. Find details at theservepickleball.com.
MerleFest 2026, presented by Window World, returns April 23rd through 26th to Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear Allison Krauss and Union Station featuring Jerry Douglas, Old Crow Medicine Show, Charles Wesley Godwin, Blackberry Smoke, and more. For tickets, visit merlefest.org.
For even more local events, seasonal festivals, and things happening around Lake Norman, visit liveworkplaylkn.com.
That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
Brain Science Made Simple. Your Brain Matters, hosted by Dr. Tim Royer, continues on WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back. We are going to continue our conversation about depression. Today, our topic is measuring depression. Now, we finished with a quote from Daniel Amen, and he said, psychiatry is the only medical specialty that never looks at the organ it treats.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, so that's a pretty provocative statement from him, but coming from him, I would respect that statement. So what he's talking about is that we generally measure symptoms, but we might miss the system.
Ooh.
That's a lot of the same letters, symptoms and system. But, and he's right. We have to look more at what's upstream. And so we're going to hopefully in this Science Corner segment have Doc unpack some of the other things we can measure. And I'm going to say we're going to include things like inflammation, sleep, autonomic nervous system regulation, and even the vagus nerve,
Oh, boy.
which is a favorite topic of conversation around everything that we do. But don't be like afraid to think in these directions, because what we have found in our experience is you can take the traditional, you can take the conventional, but you need to also go beyond that. For your best outcome, you need to go beyond that. You've got to shake the trees. You can't just be like grabbing low-hanging fruit and be done with it. You got to get back to, upstream to the source of things. So we're going to kind of interview Doc a little bit more about how he approaches this subject and how he's talking about what measuring, like what is he measuring?
Yeah. So when we're talking about how is depression diagnosed or measured, it really isn't measured in most doctors' offices, right? So what they're relying on is something called the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, and it's been through many revisions over the last 100 years, and the DSM-5. And basically, you're going to go through a checklist over a certain period of time. How long have you had these symptoms? Things like depressed mood, loss of interest in daily activities, fatigue, sleep disturbance, appetite changes, difficult concentrating, feelings of worthlessness. And if you go through and you check those things, a certain amount of them, then you qualify for the diagnosis, okay? And that's just too weak. That doesn't encompass the complexity of a human. It's like I can have many of those different things based on poor travel. Like if I travel to the Europe and back, or I can have that based on a lot of different things that happen in life. And just because I have certain symptoms, which may qualify for depression, it doesn't tell me the cause. Like, where did it come from, right? And so many times we're like, got the checklist, answered, give you a pill, you feel a little bit better. Actually, the statistics don't really align with that, but you feel a little bit better from that pill, and you're like, problem solved. But the question is, where did all these things come from? You know, we can chemically alter anything. If I wanted to put you asleep right now, I could give you an injection and you'd be asleep in 10 seconds, right? That doesn't mean that we've solved like how sleep works, right?
Right.
So there's this it's kind of like the emperor has no clothes with this kind of thing. It's like, really? Is that it? I go through this checklist and I answer these things? You know?
Right. And I guess what's really obvious to me is we have the manual, we have the conventional treatment, and depression is skyrocketing in
Right.
our, in our culture, all age groups. It's not just an old person's problem. It's not a teenager's problem. It's skyrocketing in all different of those age groups. So obviously we're not getting it right.
No. And what's happened is this whole checklist thing has kind of got wrapped in different things. So there might be something called a Beck depression inventory. And the physician was like, well, we gave him a BDI. And like, yeah, you basically gave them another checklist that they gave a subjective rating on, or a PHQ-9. Wonderful. You gave it some, acronym. You're still just asking questions, or a Hamilton depression rating scale. Same deal, okay? Or things like, I love the MMPI. I love the MCMI. Those are great personality tools, but they're still just checklists. I haven't measured anything. It'd be like me saying, hey, doc, I've got these 6 things that I'm feeling about my chest. And he says, oh, we're going to do open heart surgery on you. And you'd be like,
Right.
wait a minute, time out. I want an echo. I want an EKG. I want a stress test. I want some labs. You're not going to go cut my heart open.
Yep.
But your brain is more important than your heart, right?
Right, right. Well, I would say, like, I did take your MMPI when you were in school.
Yeah.
I took it so that
For
you
me,
would,
for a class,
right,
yeah.
for you or for one of your classmates, and it was an amazing tool.
It is.
However, as I was taking it, I thought to myself, like, if I feel like answering it this way, I can. And I did answer honestly for the sake of your experience, but like, I could answer it any way I want to. And then it's supposed to have questions in there where it tries to trick you out of doing that. But, people are smart. You can answer stuff however you want to. Or I could have thought, 6 months later, had I had a couple difficult experiences at work, I may have answered those questions differently just 6 months later. How would my treatment course be different?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And so what's interesting is psychiatry hasn't just like, they said, well, we got to come up with a reason why these symptoms are happening. Now, remember, they're not measuring anything, okay? So up until the early 90s, we didn't really have a way to kind of explain this, but then came this whole idea of serotonin depletion.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And people who don't even know anything about diagnosing depression know about serotonin. Like,
yes.
I know 5th graders who know, like, oh, I have a problem with my serotonin. Or like, okay, that's why I'm taking the Zoloft. Okay, sort of, but that really has never been measured.
Right.
And that whole hypothesis, and I've kind of fallen in that too, but the more I look back at it now, 30 years later, it's like, this thing doesn't really hold a ton of water, especially when you look at some of the research
Right.
that shows that, one, these medicines were supposed to eradicate depression, and depression has got significantly, statistically worse than it's ever been. It's the greatest cause of disability. If the answer was to affect serotonin uptake, well, that's not solving the problem, which
Right.
makes me wonder, is the theory even correct?
Right.
Right?
I think that's the big question now, because we've used the SSRIs long enough that we can actually look at volumes and volumes of data. And I think the last thing we listened to was 50% efficacy. Well, I could have you drink a glass of water an additional glass of water every 4 hours, and you may do better than that, just because your cells would be happier. But so 50% is not a great number. And then there's a certain percent, I believe it is 15% or 10%, that are completely non-responsive.
That don't have
so
any.
then you're like, well, then whatever happened to the theory if there's absolutely no response?
Yeah, now some of the longitudinal studies are showing people that take SSRIs long term actually have less serotonin than they ever had, which is like this synthetic version of that is kind of shutting down the body's ability to actually make it.
Okay.
Which is a lot like the testosterone,
Right.
synthetic testosterone. So it really brings about it. When you really examine this, there are holes in the serotonin theory, okay? But there are things that we can measure that are starting to show there's something else that may be at the cause of this. And we're going to throw this out there. I know you've heard the other stuff, but I want you to start thinking this way.
Yeah.
We want to bring in the whole idea of issues with inflammation.
Okay.
That inflammatory things contribute to and may be the cause of depression. So when somebody's not sleeping well, that is an inflammatory issue, okay? When somebody is not responding to stress well, that tells us the vagus nerve is not working, which when the vagus nerve is not working, we're looking at inflammation issues, okay? We're also looking at neuroinflammation, the brain not flushing out things correctly because of inflammation. Gut inflammation, one of Amy's favorite topics, okay? When you start to look at the connection between inflammation and many of the symptoms people report, the connection is not coincidental. It looks like that there's many different causal agents. And then the big one is heart rate variability. The fact that when coherence is low in the heart, which is an inflammatory process in many cases, that the person is way more prone to depression, right?
Yeah. So in real life, tell us how this looks for you. Somebody comes in, they say, I have depression, doc. I've tried everything else, which we hear all the time.
Right, yeah.
And it's sad. I'm sorry, because it's probably already before they get to us, has already been 6 months to 12 months of trying everything.
Sometimes years.
Yeah, sometimes years. You're right. The guy we were just talking to on the phone yesterday, it
Yeah.
had been years, and he's been trying each different thing and failing, and just trying to keep picking himself up, or his wife is continuing to take him to the next place because he's just run out of energy.
Right.
So this person comes to us. How do you frame the measurements?
Yeah, so what we want to look at is, again, we're all back to the autonomic nervous system. And you remember sympathetic and parasympathetic. So when the system is going too fast and it's over revving, that is the beginning of an inflammatory process. So we want to now look across the systems, starting with the brain, then going to the vagus nerve, then going to the heart, then going to the breathing, then going to the gut, going to hormones, and sleep is a big component of this. So these are all measurable upstream things that likely we're going to see the sympathetic or inflammatory response in these things if they're having a downstream checklist of behaviors that are really a checklist of somebody who's been inflamed for a very long time.
Right. So it almost has a feeling of exhaustion to it.
Big time.
Discover what your brain's been trying to tell you. Your Brain Matters with Dr. Tim Royer will be right back. WSIC, local, starts here.
Well, I'll tell you what, this warmer weather going to have you wishing for some lake days soon. And maybe a day to put the boat in the water by the weekend. Plenty of sunshine and upper 70s for our Thursday afternoon. Overnight temperatures really don't even get all that cold. Will only fall off into the upper 50s near 60, 80 Friday, low 80s heading into the weekend, and we're mainly dry through Saturday. Our next real rain chance returns by Sunday evening. That's your forecast from the Surf, Pickleball, and Kitchen. I'm WSIC meteorologist Chase Myers.
Spotless cleaning. How can we make your day spotless? Yes, we make not just toilets spotless, but also counters, cabinets, and kitchens. We make your whole house, your whole day spotless. My grandparents taught me the details, not the things, make your home and your life luxurious. Yes, they raised me in Brazil. And that's why we will never charge you extra for base sports. Let me help you be a diva a few hours a week. Spotless Cleaning and C.com.
Keep winter cold outside with propane heat from GMB Energy. We provide cost-effective propane to cook meals and heat your home and water, even when the power goes out. For a limited time, save big with rebates, like up to $350 on cozy heat fireplaces and up to $450 on select Rinnai tankless water heaters. Visit one of our 9 locations. Call 855-LPG-PROS or visit gbenergy.com. GMB Energy, family-owned and NC Grow.
Listen, save, enjoy. The WSIC app, available now in your app store.
Struggling with focus, memory, or mental clarity? Royer Neuroscience offers personalized, remote brain training designed to improve your cognitive health. Anywhere, anytime, you can boost focus, enhance mental performance, and thrive emotionally and physically. Visit RoyerNeuroscience.com and reclaim your brain today.
Celebrating a life beautifully remembered. Bennett Funeral Service gently guides families through honoring a loved one's life. Family owned and local, we offer personalized funeral and cremation services, along with veteran honors and compassionate aftercare and grief support. Call 828-465-2111 or visit BennettFuneralService.com. Because there is a difference.
Looking for an upscale night out? Welcome to Vin 110 in Cornelius, Lake Norman's destination for great drinks, great vibes, and live music. With over 500 whiskeys, 100 wines, a full craft cocktail list, and small plates kitchen, we built something special. Enjoy live music every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, monthly comedy nights, and curated wine and whiskey tastings. Vin 110, where your night becomes the main event. Find us at 19712 One Norman Boulevard, Suite 110 in Cornelius.
When cancer changes everything, hope still matters. Cancer thriver Charlisa Harriet, also known as Coach C, the crushing chemo chick, creates faith-filled resources that comfort and uplift, including books, journals, planners, and greeting cards. Find encouragement created from lived experience at crushingchemochick.com and be sure to catch her show, The Healed Exchange with Coach C, Wednesdays from 11 to noon, right here on WSIC.
Don't miss a thing. Download the WSIC News app today. WSIC. Local starts here.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Crude oil futures are still gaining and weighing on stocks today, but not as much as they were earlier, as the Trump administration unveils drastic measures to keep crude futures lower, including emergency powers to support the contested Sable oil project off the coast of California. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum says the 1950s Defense Production Act is absolutely under deliberation to help. Earlier today, crude oil surged to more than $81 a barrel, the highest since the summer of 2024. Oracle planning to cut thousands of jobs as it handles a cash crunch from a massive AI data center expansion effort. According to sources, former First Brand CFO Stephen Graham becoming the second exec to plead guilty to fraud charges for his role in helping the auto parts supply firm get billions of dollars in financing before its collapse. And Red Bull, known for its energy drinks, is now expanding in the other direction. Foodbeast says it's working on a drink that helps you sleep as long as 12 hours. Denise Pellegrini, Bloomberg Radio.
Friendly reminder, don't break when you see the lake.
WSIC. Local starts here.
We're back with more ways to understand the most powerful computer you'll ever own. Your brain. Your Brain Matters, hosted by Dr. Tim Royer, only on WSIC. Local starts here.
Okay, welcome back. We were talking with Doc about measuring depression, which is kind of a interesting topic because I think it's kind of foreign. It's non-conventional to think that you can measure that. But Doc had settled in on this concept of inflammation, which is really, really huge. You're hearing about inflammation from every direction. But so it may seem like it's just a cultural thing that everybody's hot on, but we really like it in relation to talking about depression. So we were thinking about when you get sick and your immune system kicks in, it's actually life-saving what your immune system is doing, but it can make you feel pretty miserable. So your body is amazing and smart, and it's going to go after the germ, and it's going to create all kinds of reactions within you that will help you win that war. So we were thinking about, yeah, how do you feel when you're getting sick? So Doc, he may be a tiny bit of a baby when he gets sick.
Come on. Now you can't tell people
Tiny
how
bit,
much of a
maybe.
baby I am.
But think about the last time you were sick, babe, when you,
Oh,
one
boy.
of the grandkids brought some snotty nose stuff from Michigan.
I was the sickest one of the whole group. Guaranteed.
Well, we had actually a family conversation where 2 members of our family were actually battling out as to who was the sicker one. And yes, Doc was one of those.
And Elise, my daughter, thought she was more sick. And I'm going to say it right now that I was more sick than she was. Okay.
So give me some of your features of your illness.
Yeah, like I felt so tired. Like I literally felt like I couldn't move my legs. Wanted to lay it. Stop it. I did. And I just felt like I really didn't want to be around anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I had a whole list of clients. Well, that got canceled right away. Right.
Because you really couldn't think straight.
No, like my head was just kind of like in a fog.
Yeah.
Like I was just kind of gone. And energy. I mean, every time I would do something, it would be like it'd take me 3 times as long to recover from whatever I just did for 20 minutes, right?
Right. Because I do remember like you thought you were feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
So then up he comes and he's to the computer and he's going to, knock out a few things and then wham, he's back down. And so we were listening to this guy who was teaching about inflammation and how we need to actually look at it like as in we know the main things about inflammation like fever, swelling, there's 4 or 5 general things you always know when you have like a little scratch in your skin and it gets infected. Well, guess what? Like that is actually going on throughout your whole body, systems, everything.
When you have like the flu or a cold.
Yes. So then you explain to us, what does inflammation in a neurological organ look and feel like?
Yeah, I mean, just think of those symptoms that we went through earlier about depression on this DSM, right?
Yes.
Like low energy, sleeping, appetite changes, difficult focusing, loss of interest in activities.
Yes, you're withdrawn. Like,
I mean, it sounds exactly like when we're sick, but we see that in a compartment related to being sick, which it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a virus. But what happens if that's kind of what's going on in depression? Like the vagus nerve, the heart, the breathing, the brain. And there's some really good research that shows that the body tries to like get into this reflexive action that actually looks exactly like depression. And then we get kind of stuck in this state. Yeah. So we want to get back to inflammation.
Yeah. To me, actually, this whole concept validates what depression is. It makes it like it's real. Like you're not just making that up. It's real. It's happening.
Yeah. It's not like, hey, today you're supposed to have a bright and shiny outlook.
No.
Well, maybe I can't. It's just like if you came in and knocked on the door and said, okay, Tim, time to get out of bed. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, I got COVID or something like this.
Right.
I don't know what this is, right? And you'd say, hey, I got to give you time. Now, it gets frustrating with depression because that can go months and years. But maybe we could measure it and start to do the interventions like improving vagal nerve, improving brainwave activity, improving oxygenation, improving the gut. Big one. The gut is huge in this. So in light of this, we want to we're into the mind is the section that we're on. So we just wanted to share a little story with you is we told you we went on our boat. And so we love taking the boat out with Cooper, and we were down in the Intercoastal just a few days ago. And we went out to Cumberland Island. We love Cumberland Island. It's about, a 20-minute boat ride out there maybe?
Yes.
And you go across this sound, which was interesting. We got stopped twice going across the sound for the Navy base was sending 2 nuclear submarines out, and we had to sit there and it was so cool watching them go by, right? But that's where the subs for the East Coast are. But we went over to Cumberland Island, and we had a great time. We see the
Mm-hmm.
wild horses out there, went for a walk, and then we got back in the boat. Okay?
Yeah.
And we had noticed that our Garmin, which is our depth finder GPS on the boat, was acting kind of weird. And sure enough, the thing wouldn't start. Okay. So
Yeah, so
What-
the Garmin isn't working, but hey, we've been out there so many times.
we know this like the back of our
And there are like red and green markers that you follow, which we have learned. And we know about the tide. I mean, we're
Ready to go.
educated, but I'm not even kidding. It was like just a white cloud came over the top of us. It wasn't raining. It was just this white cloud. And
Huge.
I really think that the Navy actually chose to send the submarine
Probably.
out during that because you couldn't see a thing. You couldn't see a thing. I was like, I'm sure I can see. And we would start going and I couldn't see a thing. I couldn't see the next marker. I couldn't sense the direction of the tide anymore. And so we were in this kind of space where you get disoriented.
Oh, I couldn't believe it didn't even take a minute and a half before we were like, where's the island?
Yes.
Where's the mainland?
So let's say we were like 100 yards off the dock. We could no longer see the dock. And also we could no longer see anything. So it was just a boat and you could just see like a circle around you and then white.
Oh, it was nuts. I mean, it was very disorienting.
Yeah.
It's a great word.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you just felt lost and I felt anxious. Like,
Right.
wait a minute, because the thing with the tides and being in the intercoastal, if you go to the wrong place, you're going to go right up on a shoal,
Yeah.
and you're going to get your boat stuck.
Yep.
And if it's the wrong tide, you're going to be up on that shoal for a long time. And so it was very kind of scary because I knew that there were some shoals around there.
Yeah.
And the GPS wasn't working, and I started to think, this is a lot like probably what it feels like. I've never had major depression, but I've listened to a lot of clients in this, and this is what it sounds like. It's like they lose their bearings, and they're lost, and they're trying as hard as they can. It's not like we weren't trying, right? But
And it's not like our boat was broken.
No.
Like everything's working, but I can't imagine the feeling of if I would have been by myself in that situation.
Oh, no way. Yeah, me too. We at least we were, it was funny because not funny, but it was strategic. We started talking, which is interesting. Communication, pathway to so many things. But okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Garmin, I can't get to work. We're stuck here. Do we just stay here? What? And then we had the idea, let's grab our phone. Well, Amy's phone was dead.
Right. So there was another lifeline is out.
But mine had about 30% battery.
Yep.
So we said, let's see if we can get a signal out there.
Right.
And sure enough, we had like one bar and we got a signal. And then we activated normally what we would use when we're driving, but activated the GPS and it gave us a directional component.
Yes.
And
we were heading right to a shoal.
No, we were literally
It
another 30 seconds, we would have gone right into a shoal. And what was interesting is we needed each other. Like I couldn't drive the boat and watch this thing because the fog was so thick. So Amy would literally watch that and watch the arrow. And she said, a little left, a little right, a little left. And about 2 minutes later, we saw our first marker, but we couldn't see the next one. And it was interesting how we had to go from marker to marker and work with each other and get through. And that difficulty, those little steps got us to the point that we got to where we needed to be. And for those of you out there that are lost in the same type of fog in your depression, we get it. And it's not something that's going to change tomorrow, but it's one step that we can measure. And you need your GPS and you need that person to help guide you along the way, right?
Yep.
Discover what your brain's been trying to tell you. Your Brain Matters with Dr. Tim Royer will be right back. WSIC, local, starts here.
Well, I'll tell you what, this warmer weather going to have you wishing for some lake days soon. And maybe a day to put the boat in the water by the weekend. Plenty of sunshine and upper 70s for our Thursday afternoon. Overnight temperatures really don't even get all that cold. Will only fall off into the upper 50s near 60, 80 Friday, low 80s heading into the weekend, and we're mainly dry through Saturday. Our next real rain chance returns by Sunday evening. That's your forecast. From the Surf, Pickleball, and Kitchen, I'm WSIC meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar.
Start your engines in Huntersville at the Huntersville Spring Car and Truck Show, happening Saturday, March 14th from 9 a.m. to noon at Veterans Park. Car, truck, and motorcycle owners are invited to show off their rides, connect with fellow enthusiasts, and compete for awards. Or just come enjoy the vehicles, food, and car lover atmosphere. Registration is free, but space is limited. For details and sign-up information, visit huntersville.org/events.
Then keep the fun going that same day. Luck of the Village, the St. Patrick's Day celebration, takes place March 14th from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Birkdale Village in Huntersville. Enjoy live bagpipes from the Loch Norman Pipe Band, Irish dance performances, and high-energy music from the Hitmen Party Band. Plus, plenty of family-friendly fun and festive vibes. It's free to attend and perfect for all ages. Learn more at birkdalevillage.com.
And if you're already thinking about your next night out, make Thursdays easy with live music Thursdays at the Serve Pickleball Plus Kitchen in Cornelius. This week features Carolina native John Sullivan performing Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. in the lounge, while guests play pickleball, sip drinks, and enjoy dinner. It's the perfect way to kickstart your Lake Norman weekend, and live music continues every Thursday. Find details at theservepickleball.com.
MuralFest 2026, presented by Window World, returns April 23rd through 26th to Wilkesboro, North Carolina. Hear Allison Krause in Union Station, featuring Jerry Douglas, Old Crow Medicine Show, Charles Wesley Godwin, Blackberry Smoke, and more. For tickets, visit muralfest.org.
For even more local events, seasonal festivals, and things happening around Lake Norman, visit liveworkplaylkn.com.
That's liveworkplaylkn.com.
Hi. This is Bob McIntosh with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Since 1997, we have been committed to providing our clients with competent, caring, and experienced legal services. Learn more at McIntoshLawFirm.com.
Brain Science Made Simple. Your Brain Matters, hosted by Dr. Tim Royer, continues on WSIC. Local starts here.
Okay, welcome back. We just finished up our story about being lost in the fog.
We made it. We must have made it, right?
Didn't know if we'd make it.
Yeah.
So we were lost in how we made it. So
yeah.
It was such a real experience of like feelings and emotions and things. Hopefully you can sense it through the radio, but it was such a good analogy for potentially what it feels like to be depressed and wondering like how am I going to get out of this?
Right.
So hopefully that was helpful to run through that. Let's do a case study. We can also kind of keep the boat idea in our mind, but Doc's going to share with us regarding a client who came in complaining of depression.
Yeah, so we had this parent that brought in their child, their teenager, and they come into the clinic, and their grades are not doing well, and they've done pretty well through elementary, middle school, and they're not doing well. Very irritable, okay? Like, mom and dad are walking on eggshells with this kid, right? And they used to like to play sports, and they're just kind of withdrawing. They're just not interested anymore. And then the sleep is really upside down, okay? So, like, staying up super early hours into like 2 a.m., and then really groggy in the morning, sometimes sleeping in when they should be getting to school. Their motivation is pretty much non-existent. No desire to like, well, what's my future going to be? And then some occasional substance abuse. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. These aren't just things in a vacuum. They actually are all tied together, right? The substance abuse is most likely some way to self-medicate, that they're trying to find a way. It's not just like I want to, destroy my system here. They're trying to find a way to take away some of the anxiety, stress, whatever. And so the substance abuse might help with that, right?
Yeah, that's an important thing to know, because often we think, oh, they're just a naughty kid.
Right.
But honestly, frequently they are trying to help themselves, and they did something that felt a little bit better, and so they're going to go back and try to do that repeatedly.
And doesn't it sound like let's just step back a little bit and go back to the inflammatory thing, right? At first, it might be hard to connect that, but think about that, like failing grades. So not being able to put the energy in, irritable, frustrated, withdrawal, poor sleep, poor motivation, substance abuse. Like it has that feel again back to like being sick.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's not just I'm all of a sudden out of the blue low on serotonin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, inflammation, interestingly enough, does affect serotonin production, but where's the cause of that? And that's the thing is like, I could see the symptoms. I could make the diagnosis in a heartbeat by just going off the checklist. Okay, I've given you it was also like the other day when we were talking to that one client who all of a sudden he got the diagnosis, and I said to him, and what does that do for you?
Yes.
Well, I have the diagnosis. I'm like, yeah. So now you can get a medicine for that because your insurance is going to approve that. So the question I have is not the diagnosis, not can I chemically alter it, but why? Why does this teenager have this going on?
Yeah.
What is going on in their life that we need to explore, right?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like an electrical device, because we have talked about in here that we are electrical beings.
Right, yeah.
And like, have you ever had a glitchy device?
Yes.
And it's like the electricity isn't flowing.
That Garmin that stopped working was a glitchy device.
Right. And so then what are you supposed to do? Hit reset, unplug it and replug it. These are all things you do. But the glitchy is that the electrical circuit is not functioning the way it was designed to function.
Right.
And then you also think about the boat analogy, and you're like, okay, this kid, he was cruising along through life in a decent manner, just like we were boating in a decent manner. And then the fog came in.
Right.
So you want to figure out, like, the fog came in. That's a fact. That's what we're seeing in all these symptoms. Now, what in the world caused this?
Right. So let's go all the way upstream.
Okay.
So where I would go here is let's get rid of the checklist is there. You got your diagnosis. Okay, whatever. Let's go upstream and figure out what's going on. So let's measure something. This first thing we want to measure is the brain. Okay. EEG.
Yeah.
We got to look at the EEG.
Electricity.
Here we are, right? And it's so interesting how the electricity is actually connected to the chemical production. And we get stuck on chemical production, but we really need to be looking at the electricity.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you got these slow brain waves and you got these fast brain waves. Oh, here we are again. Parasympathetic and sympathetic.
Yeah.
And you've got these slow ones that are called thetas. And the thetas show our recovery mechanisms. And when they get too low, it's a sign that the brain isn't recovering correctly. It's not sleeping correctly. And this teenager had some very low thetas. We could measure that to the 100th place and say, this teenager should be at the 50th percentile, and he is at the 5th percentile. We know we've got an issue in his recovery, right?
Right.
Question, why? Inflammation typically gets totally directed to that. The brain can't sleep correctly because it can't rest and get deep into sleep because it's irritated.
And it's staying in that fight-flight mode.
Yeah, it's got this.
Got to fight.
Exactly.
There's something it doesn't like, and it's got to fight.
So then the next thing you're looking at is, well, what the other side of the brainwaves are those high betas, those fast brainwaves. We want those less than 0.6. This teenager comes up with a 0.9. Their brain is just glitchy, fast. It's not that they don't have the energy. The energy has all gotten consumed by what if, what about, all this buzzing in the brain that then makes them crash into this adrenal fatigue inflammatory state, right?
Yeah. So then we go and we can measure the heart and how the heart is doing. And we literally can put on a polar strap or a finger sensor, and we can walk through a breathing practice with this person, and we can teach them breathe in and breathe out on a regular, like a metronome pace of 6 breaths a minute. And what we should see is a flexible heart going faster and slower alongside of the breathing. And in this case, that is not what we saw. And so that is a clear marker that this heart is inflexible with the supply of oxygen. and it's just staying in the running mode
Right.
versus run and rest, run and rest. That's what our heart rate is supposed to do in health and wellness. So that is now we've got the brain numbers for this kid. We've got the heart numbers for this kid. Then we didn't really mention gut, but
Let me just say one other thing on that. In the heart, studies of 16,000 people working just on that heart had an improvement in depression, not counseling, not medicine, by 56% by creating more flexibility in the heart. It's amazing what that will do.
yeah, I would say you can't be diagnosed with depression without measuring the HRV.
It's just inadequate medicine.
Irresponsible. Yeah. But let's move to the gut. So obviously the gut is going to be connected with this as well. And things that you might see with the gut inflammation is just irregularity in the pooping. Like you knew I was going to go
You
there,
had to say
right?
poop. You always have to somehow get
Yeah,
poop into
yeah.
the discussion.
So for this child, he had some changes in having constipation, which
Yes.
kids don't normally have constipation. Usually they move and they poop daily. So it's unusual to see that, but that's what's going to happen with inflammation in the gut is things aren't going to move properly. There's going to be leaky gut. There's going to also be possibly some decrease in the absorption of nutrients. So then you start to have things like the kids getting sick more often, just having the flu, picking up on stuff because they're not absorbing all the nutrients that they should from their food.
Last thing I would measure, and these are all measurable things. Come on, people, let's get these things measured because that can help us get to the source and get us on track with the depression. But the other one is the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve kind of connects all of this. We need to see the vagus nerve's job is to keep things in homeostasis through a process of working with the reflexes in the body to balance out the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. And you can read that in a 3-minute assessment. Why every doctor's office on the planet doesn't do this 3-minute assessment to see what the vagus nerve, it's mind-boggling why we're not doing this. Instead, we're just driven by whatever the pharmaceutical industry wants, and we need to start stepping up to the plate and taking care of the most precious thing we have, which is our brain and our body.
Right.
Right.
And the vagus nerve is so worth investing your time and your money and effort into because it connects everything. So you might be dealing with depression related to vagus nerve now, but you might be dealing with memory later. So any of the above is going to be super important because the vagus nerve is something that we can make decisions and impact in a positive way.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk more about that down the road. Okay.
Yes, sir.
But as we kind of get to our 2-minute drill, we want to throw out something there we want you to think about, okay, to help with this. And the word we want to say is we want you to be curious. What do we mean by that, Aim, when we say we want people to be curious?
Well, you just have to ask more questions. You know how they say about AI? You'll get there if you ask the right questions,
exactly.
right? This is the same thing. You've
Perfect.
got
I love it.
to ask questions. So Doc and I, anything you heard today that is just like kind of making you curious, ask those questions.
Right. Like write down, how did I get this diagnosis? Was it just a checklist or did somebody measure something, right? And what's the exit strategy for this pill I'm taking? Like, is anybody making anything stronger? How are these other mechanisms measured? And start getting curious. You got to be your best advocate. You got to be your kid's best advocate. Why? Because your brain matters, right? Next week, we're going to go into the last part of this series. It's going to be modified. How do we modify this depression and bring hope into the dark?
Great radio doesn't end here. Catch the full episode and dive or into our archives on the WSIC News app.
WSIC 105.9 FM, 100.7 FM, 1400 AM. Statesville, Lake Norman's home for local talk radio. WSIC. Local starts here.